Namaskar. I welcome you all to Namaste 2020, Swagatam, to the center stage screening of the film In the Fire of Dancing Stillness by Renata Keller. Today is a wonderful day. It is the festival of Gauri. It's an obeisance that we pay to the Divine Mother. And it's a beautiful day because we have a lady who has created this beautiful film about another lady. And we welcome you all. And it's a real pleasure to have you here, Renata. And we have with us Danji Thotapalli, who is a part of the Indic family. He is the head of the Indic Films. And he is the curator of Indica Pictures. He is a senior global technology sourcing professional with a passion for cinema. Having spent the past 10 years at major Hollywood studios, previously at NBC Universal, and currently at Sony Pictures, Danji understands the power of film and the extent of its reach. In addition to working in Hollywood, Danji has been associated with the Indian Film Festival of Los Angeles for about 12 years now and comes with a deep insight into all facets of running a film festival, such as community outreach, sponsorship, funding, event management, programming, and media relations. Currently, Danji volunteers as a vice president. I will now hand over the rest of the evening to Danji. I think before that, Renata Keller would like to just wish the audience before Danji takes over. Renata, to you.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you for letting me be here. Thank you for the invitation. I'm very excited that this film is going to be shown today for the first time officially also in India. I have a great love for India and also great love for the person I made the film about. And I just wish you a great screening. So thank you very much, everybody, also for all the work that you've put in from Soft Power. Thank you. Now over to Danji.
Thanks a lot, Renata, for choosing this event to showcase your film. It's a powerful film, and just a few minutes, a short, quick introduction, and then we'll go on to watching this great film. So, Renata, who's a filmmaker, we have her here. We're going to talk to her a little bit. Has done a master's in something called Applied Imagination, which is a wonderful program from the sound of it. She also has done documentary filmmaking from London. She's made several films. All of them have wonderful titles. I'll just read out a few. The Future Speaks Ruthlessly Through Her is one. Why Women Need to Climb Mountains is another. True Healing Arises in Freedom is another. From the Visible Form to the Invisible Impact is another. And this one, the one that you just saw, is called In the Fire of Dancing Stillness. So her titles, you will see, have a lot of depth in them. And I think that represents her as to what she is and what she is trying to accomplish in getting, she speaks to, obviously, if you from this film as a sample, you must have seen that she is a very spiritual person. Spirituality, questions about spirituality are her focus, and also, women, development of women is another area that is significantly in her interest. So with that introduction, I will have a little chat with Renata. I have a few questions, and I will start with the movie is about this person called Vimlaji Thakar, who, for someone like me, I think I'm pretty well read. I think I'm being a little, I think today that belief has been demolished, because I have heard of her very briefly many, many years ago. Mm-hmm. I think that was when she passed away. Mm-hmm. but that's pretty much it. I mean, in spite of being a powerful, articulate, and a compelling person, I mean, her poem, which is "I knock at every heart," that first line itself is such a powerful line. For someone like that, you know, I mean, she is relatively not very well known. So could you take a few minutes and talk about her and how you came across her?
Yeah, thank you. I hope everybody can also kind of stay with it. I know that after the film, it's sometimes a little difficult. So I'm really appreciating, Danji, that you're asking me questions straight away. In terms of your question about her not being very well known, and I was also very surprised how unknown she is in India. I mean, one thing would be, you know, for her in Europe to not be well known. But I think there's two reasons for it. I think the one reason is that she herself never had the ambition to be well known. I mean, even like in conversations she had with Shri Krishnamurti, she was sometimes even already criticizing him for, even though he did not want to set up an institution, she told him, she said, well, I know you don't, but you actually are. And she was very ruthless about not setting up an institution around her. And there's even a talk that I heard that was actually a kind of a private talk with some of her closest friends, when she was really reiterating the fact that she did not want to create a certain group or a certain sect around her. And she constantly dissolved certain structures that kept appearing around an important person. And I think the other reason why she was not so well known, and is still not very well known, is I think the fate that many women are sharing. That even though, you know, as you said, like, and also what impressed me very much in my research, I kept coming across more and more, I mean, the kind of letters she wrote to politicians, the engagement she had on so many levels, it was almost sometimes for me overwhelming to come across it. But I think it's also that it's just women keep just kind of disappear a little bit. I mean, it's changing a lot. And I think her generation still struggled, you know, even to not get married was a big step. But I think she just kind of, you know, also, as I said before, I think it's also one of her doings. She said, I want to leave like free eagle. So I think it's a combination of a lot of different things. And I felt just very passionate when I met her. You know, as I said in the film, I only met her for 3 days. And it's something very deeply changed in myself, because I felt like even though she had such a sharp view on life and on the present situation, she also had such a love for life and such a positive relationship on what we can do as human beings. And that's why, in a way, I didn't decide to make the film. It kept coming to me. I kept actually also putting it away because I felt it's too difficult. I'm not going to have enough footage and all that. But it kept knocking at my door, so to speak.
Wonderful. So one other thing I wanted to quickly touch upon that before we go to the next question, which is you have, throughout the film, you have tracked this priest drawing out the image of Durga in a temple in Kerala.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, I know about Kolam, which is a similar practice in Tamil Nadu. I know about Muggu, which is very, very popular in Andhra and Telangana regions. But I mean, can you talk about what made you capture that? Did it have a relation to the film, or was it something that you felt compelled to show in the film?
Yeah. I mean, it's the whole making of the film had a certain magicness to it, like including like when I met those girls in the former house of Vimala Thakar. So even with the Durga, you know, a friend took me to a Navaratri celebration, and I was so mesmerized by how the priest was doing the drawing. And the interesting thing is, when you film, one thing that I've noticed is it's taught me, even on a spiritual level, how quickly we want to look away. We don't want to just stay with something and really look. And how is this person moving? How is he drawing this? Or even when you look at other scenes, like even just, you know, for instance, the monkeys passing by, we want to be very quick and like feel like we captured something. And I purposely, also through Vimala's teaching on observation, observe life, how it is. I decided to just let the camera just really go in there. And I mean, that particular evening when I was filming, I had the little camera and the big camera, and I was on my own, and I was running back and forth between the little one and the big one. And then at one point, even the power went out. But it actually, in the editing, it all had its magic thing of why it suddenly worked. And then when I read that, the grandfather of Vimala used to call her the little Durga, and apparently even when she was born, later on, actually through the film, I got to know about her brother who's still alive, and we had really beautiful conversations recently. And he said, like, apparently by the time Vimala was born, the grandfather said she has the look of a Durga.
I agree. In fact, I have read a book about mother goddesses in India, and there is this concept called girls when they are born. At some point, they come across, they have a sense of being an incarnation of Durga, and I mean, there are many powerful stories like that. And I think from watching your film, it does bring out that aspect of her,
Mm-hmm.
A rebel by any standard word during her time of just at a very young age, 23, 20, around early 20s, she moved into a very significant movement, and then she stayed with it, and she did many things that most women during those days couldn't do it. I mean, I'm sure they wanted to, but couldn't for social reasons.
Yeah.
So that came out very well in the film. So I wanted to ask you about Jiddu Krishnamurti, who seems to be a person that she associated with significantly during her life. Of course, I live in about 40 miles from Ojai. So I've been to these ashram many times, and there is a part in the film that I got very intrigued about, which is Jiddu Krishnamurti apparently put his hands around her head and healed her ear injury. I mean, can you talk a little bit about it? Because Jiddu Krishnamurti himself said there are no miracles in this world, and you know everything about it. So,
I mean, I read that little book, I just forgot its name, but the meeting between Vimala and Krishnamurti many times, and I also asked people who knew both Krishnamurti and Vimala, what was it, and what was also afterwards. There was also some kind of a conflict also, but the fact that he did that, in India, and that's why I love India so much. In India, there's a non-linear way of how people connect. And I think my sense was, how I explain it to myself is, they recognized each other as brothers and sisters. It wasn't actually, I don't think it was an unequal thing, even though in the beginning, I think Vimala really felt she was learning, and she was really, also very deeply, until she died, she was very much appreciating J. Krishnamurti, despite of the conflicts that they had at some point. But my sense was that Krishnamurti had a sense that there was just something very intuitive that he had to do despite everything. And I mean, also, J. Krishnamurti is also to be admired for the risks he took in his own life. Even though he had a very different biography than Vimala, he was much more groomed to be a world teacher, and then broke it. So in a way, I think they met as soul sisters, soul brothers, and it was a miracle what happened when he put his hands on her ears. It was, when you read all the details, I mean, the doctors, they couldn't find anything anymore. It was to stop the bleeding, and it was significant what happened. It wasn't just a small thing.
I agree. So I wanted to quickly jump onto the Buddhan movement, where Vimlaji is so involved. And the Buddhan movement is such a powerful part of Indian history. In fact, there's nothing like that ever happened anywhere else in the world. but it's a forgotten memory. It's an
Yeah.
untold tale. Today, if you ask a young person, they wouldn't know. They wouldn't have a clue about it.
Yeah.
What do you, I also know that Vimlaji talked about industrialization and how the world is getting fragmented and really going down the drain, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I just wanted you to share your perspectives on
Yeah.
what her points of view were around the Buddha movement and subsequent industrialization that's happening.
Yeah. I mean, Vimala continued this. As I said in the film, she kept meeting with Sarvodaya and social workers until the end of her life. So she was very much still involved with the sentiment of the Vinoba movement. I mean, I myself, again, was very surprised that there's so little known about Vinoba. And I mean, Gandhi, you can go to the museums and everything. I personally feel very inspired by what Vinoba did and his movement. And not just about the fact that they were distributing land, but the way they did it, that they really said, we're doing this out of love. And sometimes I have these fantasies when I think, how could we do this in our modern world? How could we, convince somebody like Facebook or Amazon or all the big corporates to say, can you not just, support the planet out of love, and because there's something so significant, or even what Vimala was saying in terms of ahimsa, not being non-violence, but creative love, that we all can get in touch with that sense that we can meet each other out of love, and then big things can happen. And I mean, Vimala had amazing stories about meeting these really terrible landowners and knocking at their doors, and they were like drunk and horrible guys, and she just melted them down. She said, I'm meeting you as a sister. I want to just talk with you. And there were stories where there would be one of the first people who would give away pieces of their land. So it speaks to the human spirit. And from everything I read about Vinoba, he was an amazing man too. And Vimala happened to have this luck to be connected with all the greats of India. That was an amazing karma she had. It wasn't just Vinoba, it was so many other amazing men, especially. She's very grateful to it.
So I have this question that really has me excited. I really want to know about it. The titles.
Yeah.
What's the process? How do you come up with a title? And why? What is the compelling reason that you feel that the title has to be a sentence? I really am curious because, especially in today's world where everybody's going for the short, little titles.
Yes, and as you say, I've always in the film world, people say, no, the title is too long and you can't do that. And in the Fire of Dancing Stillness, it was actually a moment with an artist friend I had, because I knew that Vimala was actually a lover of dance, but she couldn't really do the dancing because people would have really, not being married, dancing would have been in an Indian culture quite a dangerous thing to do. So she chose to sing because she loved singing. But because her dynamism, out inside of stillness and outside of stillness, and then the passion that she has about life. So I was standing in the kitchen with this artist friend, and he actually said it first in German, because we were talking about the stillness and the dynamism are coming out of stillness. And then when he said it, I said, that's it. That's basically, he's in the credits too, and it's, I'm grateful to him because, but generally what happens is that there's also a process, like with the other films, it happens just in a moment when I just knew the other titles kind of I created myself, because I just know it hits the film. It just, and yeah, so yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
In fact, that was my next question, actually, in the Fire of Dancing Stillness, because so there is a lot about fire, right? Fire is such primeval thing. It is so ancient. And I mean, it is so transformative. Fire can transform things. So,
Yeah.
I mean, dancing, stillness, and fire, it's a very powerful image.
Yeah.
And I think it has, I don't know, I'm not an expert on this, but maybe something to do with the yogic aspect of existence, so to speak.
Yeah.
But a very powerful title, and you know, it has. I think the movie measures up to the title very well.
Yeah.
So I have. Go ahead, please.
No, just one thing also maybe combined with death, which for me was also one of those non-linear combinations of what, you know, what I was saying, even about the death of my mother that I brought in. And, you know, the burning of the bodies, the burning of, you know, the finality of death in India is very exposed. And it's the same within, you know, like what we have to burn inside ourselves in order to be reborn. And Vimala was so fearless of death, you know. Also that that excerpt I put in was about her grandfather, because she saw her grandfather dead as a child, and she said, you know, can death be that beautiful? And it takes away, you know, especially in the Western world, we're so strange around death. We don't see it as part of life, you know, and that's also why I wanted to put a lot in there. And also her own death, you know, she went through a real death in her meeting with Krishnamurti, and something new occurred. That just wanted to add that.
Amazing, amazing. So, okay, filmmaker, right? Filmmakers, I think filmmaking is the most toughest thing that anybody can do. So I wanted to ask you about, I did see your crowdfunding video. It's an amazing video. The camera was on that bull, and amazing. I loved it. So what challenges did you face? Not just this one, but in terms of as a filmmaker, and I mean, and especially in this genre of films, right? I mean, if you were to make a Bollywood action thriller, you would have a ton of people, you know, willing to give you money. But this is a very specific genre of films. So can you speak to something about what kind of challenges and how you overcame those challenges?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I just had about 2 or 3 weeks where I just gave myself to recover from the last 2 years of very intense work. The challenge is, I would say, I mean, it's an odd thing because I have a way of following what I want to do in a very intuitive way. And, you know, some filmmaker friends have said to me, it looks a little crazy because you never know where you're going to get the money from, and then it appears. And that was one thing, you know, even with the first 2 crowdfundings, what I felt was a great support of people who have known about Vimala, but also friends of mine. And by the way, also one thing, I was very clear that when I was going to go to India the first time to film, if I was going to feel that people who've known Vimala would not be into me making a film, I would stop. But I was interested to see that it was the opposite. There was so much enthusiasm and such a welcoming, you know, of me having this idea of making a film about her. And then in terms of the challenges, I would say the biggest challenge was for me to make a film about a person who did not want to be seen as a famous person. So I did not want to put her into this kind of look at her and she's so amazing and now we're going to rediscover her. But I wanted to have that sense of humility and that sense of modesty that she was conveyed. And I would actually say, now that you're asking me so directly, the biggest challenge was for me to almost like transform myself in the process. I mean, I could tell you about all the technical challenges and, you know, a lot of things that happened, but to keep online and keep being, you know, in a way having the integrity that Vimala, I felt like I wasn't doing her justice, you know, because she was such an amazing person. So that's what I felt like I had to align all the time. And in that sense, I mean, I had great help, you know, with the composers, and there were people who had not connected with Vimala, but I needed to work with them to have a connection. You know, even the composer, actually, he's a young Christian guy. He said at the beginning he just could not connect to Indian music. It just wasn't. But then at one point he connected with Vimala's chant, you know, and he connected with her voice, and then something really happened for him.
I think we have just a few minutes left. So I have one question that I wanted to bring up from the audience.
Yes.
People is asking in the interaction between Vimlaji and Krishnamurti is where he's asking her to take action. You know, seemed like a provocation from. So the context, you know, I mean, that's a question. And then what was he urging her to do?
You mean like in the beginning?
Yes.
Or like yeah. So I mean, he definitely, he was desperate because he you know, he felt like he needed more people who understand him and who convey his message. Because I think also, this is my words, I think also because he also had a sense that he couldn't really come across to people. He, you know, even though he was trying. And then when he met Vimala, he really wanted her to just go and speak. And she definitely found her own way of speaking. If I would compare the two, which, you know, I did not want to kind of say one is better than the other, because both are amazing people. But if I would do a comparison, I think one thing that Vimala was very good at, she was very practical, and she had a way to talk that was, I think, was just, people could understand it. And Krishnamurti was very philosophical, you know, which also suits certain people. And then, you know, she was very hesitant, but then she started to, for instance, share her poems with people who knew also Krishnamurti, and then people were amazed. And then also people came to her to explain what Krishnamurti had said, because she had a way to actually explain his words in a good. So that's how it started. But then she started to teach in an independent way, and that's when things got a little bit rocky. I wouldn't say between her and Krishnamurti. I would say between her and the Krishnamurti fellowship around him, which was very painful for her. But then she also just went her own way. And the one amazing thing about Vimala is she never spoke badly about anyone. There was never a sense of bitterness about what people did. She just really, she had such a gracious heart. It was amazing. So.
Thank you. So I just want a quick question. What's next on your plate?
Yeah, I'm in the back of my mind while I'm a little bit relaxing. I'm thinking about doing a film. Actually, the title is already there, but it's a much shorter title, On Becoming Woman, and it's a bit of a autobiographical story that is going to connect with a lot of women that I have met throughout my life, because I grew up in Peru. I had Peruvian nannies, and I want to address all of that, that whole social situation those people are in. And then I wanted to become a Buddhist nun, and what was the situation there. So I'm going to weave my life through it. But that's, I'm talking to a big audience. I keep that kind of privately, but this is kind of the idea.
Wonderful. Awesome talking to you, Renata. Thank you very much for coming to Namaste 2020. And I'm privileged to have been able to talk to you. So thank you very much, and all the best. And please stay in touch. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll definitely stay in touch. Thank you very much, Danji. Thank you for really great questions. And also thank you to Ustava, to Aparna, to everybody who's organized this amazing conference also. And for everybody having the patience to watch the whole film. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, dear Renata, for sharing your beautiful film with us. Thank you, Danji, for being with us today evening at such short notice. The Center for Soft Power would also like to thank viewers from all over the world who have joined us this Friday evening for a beautiful film, which I think the biggest takeaway for me personally is that the conditioning of the mind, all of us come with a lot of conditioning. our perceptions of India, our perceptions of people from outside India, our perceptions of what Indian soft power is or is not, or should not be. But I think both JK and Vimala Thakar teach us to look at things afresh every moment, to renew our modes of thinking and modes of living. Thank you so much, Renata, for driving home this point so beautifully. Images of the Brahmini kite will stay with us for a long, long time. And thank you, all of you, once again from the Center for Soft Power.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Renata. Tomorrow's morning program, just a quick reminder, starts at 6:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time, and we are having a session with Dushyant Sridhar, a Sanskrit scholar, and he will talk about the interdisciplinary connection of all our literary texts. Do join us tomorrow morning. Have a great weekend. Thank you.